All right, everybody. Welcome to our live. We didn't do a live last week. I'm in the middle of trying to get ready to move to another house, and this giant fucking house is too full of shit and is too old, and there's too many repairs that I have to do. So hopefully, I'm going to keep being able to do this. Just might get spotty. If anything ends up suffering, it's going to be the lives. If there's anything that can go be put on hold for a little bit, it's going to be the lives. But for right now, we're doing a live, and we're up and running. So this week, episode that just came out, we did a episode with Joe Kasabian, who is Joe. Fucking somebody, cell phones are the Lord. So Joe wrote Hooligans of Kandahar, which I wrote a piece on for Task and Purpose. The last thing that I wrote for Task and Purpose. It was probably the best war book that I've ever written, so I immediately wanted to get Joe on. Joe and I have done some other podcasts together. He runs a podcast called Lions Led by Donkeys, which I've done stuff for. He's come on my stuff. So Joe came on to our show to talk about his latest, his science fiction, space communism kind of book called Citizens of Earth, or excuse me, Citizen of Earth. It is a great book. It is everything that you ever wanted with science fiction and revolution and online leftism without having to read like some giant tome about the French Revolution or anything like that. So please go and pick that book up. You can listen to Joe talk about that book on the podcast on our free episode. The episode for our bonus episode was me talking about Generation Kill. That's the fifth episode, so we got two more episodes. Coming up, though, is going to be some episodes of Catch 22 that's going to be coming out on Hulu. So it's going to be like 6 episodes, and I've lined up a couple people to talk about that. Catch 22 is probably one of the other like best military books that's ever been written that you should definitely read. I actually saw somebody talk about like somebody in the military saying that they couldn't get into it, which like as I'm rereading it, I totally understand because like it's disjointed. It's like a Vonnegut book. It's like Kurt Vonnegut, and I'm not huge on Kurt Vonnegut, but since I've already read Catch 22, I already know all the things that are being alluded to that are eventually talked about in the book. So I'm really enjoying rereading it and looking forward to watching this. It's from George Clooney's involved and he's in it and he's one of the producers and Clooney makes okay military movies. There's always that good bit of absurdity. Like it's like Tom Hanks makes military movies and George Clooney makes military movies. And Tom Hanks makes the ones that are like Oscar winning. We need to rah rah World War II troops and everything like that. And Clooney is the one who makes like all the absurd ones and the fun ones and the things that are kind of weird, like Three Kings and what was it, Men Who Stare at Goats and stuff like that. So looking forward to doing that. We're going to do a bunch of bonus stuff with that. Coming in June, the podcast is going to take a little break, but not a break like you're not going to get content. We're going to get some content kind of preloaded because I'm going to be on my annual training and Nate just wants to take a vacation. I guess, at some point in time, his pasty ginger ass just can't deal with that little amount of sunshine in England. So he's going to go on a vacation. We're going to take a couple weeks off. I'm not going to be on vacation. I'm going to be fucking doing army shit and hating my life. But it's probably going to be my last annual training. Fingers crossed, as long as we don't go to fucking war with Iran and I get stop loss or anything like that. So hopefully we're going to do that. I've already got a few ideas of. I've got some people that I want to talk to. Some other podcasts, some smaller lefty podcasts that I've kind of talked to some of the people on there. Pretty Bad Lefty, who runs the Discourse podcast. Maybe bring Connor Southern on to talk about his science fiction socialist thing. And there's a couple. I know there's a lot of other people who we want to go and do a lot more. Bitch, we're not going to war. If we are, you're getting drafted. Fucking the Oklahoma fucking Bigfoot Brigade's gonna go to war with us, Sam. I see you in there. So yeah, we're just gonna take a little break, preload some stuff. I've got a lot of people lined up. Next week I'm gonna be on vacation myself, but it's gonna be a working vacation. We got a condo like not too far from here for real cheap, and my wife and my kid and I are all just gonna hole up there. I'm gonna work on some stuff. I've been tapped to do writing again. Adam Weinstein reached out to me and asked me to, buddy, your trigger finger works. You're fine. Don't worry. But anyway, Adam Weinstein asked me to. I pitched him something that should be pretty interesting. If you saw me tweeting today about the Millennium Challenge 2002, it's going to be kind of based on that. Look that up. That's really interesting. I've done a lot more research into it, and I know Joe Kasabian for Lions Led by Donkeys is going to do an episode on it. I'm probably going to do an episode with him on that. So, just looking forward to doing some writing again. We're going to. I've got all kinds of other side projects. The big thing is going to be the newsletter. I have a lot of entries. I have a lot of artwork that I'm going to be putting in. So I'm going to take a day, probably not even a day, take a couple of hours, do some editing, do some layout and design, do some Photoshop stuff, and lay out the magazine. And I have a local shop that I'm gonna reach out to and see what kind of what I can do with them. Make sure that they can accommodate me and get the stuff printed out, and then we're going to start sending out. So if you are not a member of the Patreon and you want to get a hold of that, if you're at the $5 level, you'll get, actually, if you're any level of Patreon, you'll get a digital copy of it. If you're at $10 and above, but before June 1st, and as long as we you get paid into June 1st, you're going to get 2 copies of it, one for you and one for a buddy. And then you're going to get some other fun stuff in there. The Don't Step on Snake patch, the Rock or Something magnets. I got some little stickers in as well. There we go. My Anarcho agriculture stickers. A little bit smaller than I was expecting, but we should be all right. So yeah, so that's all. You're going to get all that stuff. Then you're going to get 2 zines. We're going to be doing this quarterly. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do it more and more, depending on how many more people we get involved in it and working on it and throwing stuff into it. We may make adjustments and everything, but we are incredibly grateful to everybody who has been a member and helping us with it. And even if you're just kicking in $1 a month, it's all very helpful and really pushes us to being able to do all this stuff, get it all done, and send it out to you. Wanting to put like tangible stuff in your hands. So. Next week's episodes, we're going to talk. Nate and I discussed. What did we discuss? We had the podcast this morning. Our Q&A is going to be the bonus, and then we discussed an interesting article that I found about some guy who has an argument for wanting to bring back not selective service, but the draft, but not for big army to go overseas, but army to do just local militia stuff. It's everybody would get drafted into this because this guy touts himself as a conservative libertarian. So he's I don't want to join the army because I don't want to go do the army stuff overseas and do all that bullshit. But I still want to go stomp around the woods with a gun because I don't feel like a man unless I do that, which is fucking ridiculous. And we talked about that. We also talked about the recent what's his name, the fucking war criminal getting pardoned by Trump. How these things are just completely gone off the rails at this point. How pardoning people who literally do war crimes and being oh well they're good boys is going to completely fuck up any further mission that you think you're going to have. And how honestly we probably anybody in the military has probably, if you've gone outside the wire, you probably witnessed some war crimes at some point in time. There's only so much that you can do about it, though. But if you always my big fucking neon sign above anything where anybody says, well, this guy was convicted for murder in Iraq, should be a big neon sign that says, if you were convicted for murder in Iraq, you probably did murder. I can't imagine you not if you got prosecuted for that shit. You probably fucking deserved it. But hey, Trump's going to do whatever he wants to do. He's going to let the war criminals out. He's going to let all of the, every asshole from Dinesh D'Souza to murder Iraqis have a clean bill of health and clean slate and everything. So, fuck it. That's where we are as a country at this point. Cool. I'm not going to get into too much else. I know that there is a lot going on with the abortion debate. Um, Nate and I are. I know I can speak for Nate on this. He and I are 100%. Abortion should be free and legal and accessible by all. And you should have those discussions with people. The Republicans, of course, basically want to turn women into incubators because we have a declining birth rate because everything's fucked. Nobody wants to have a baby. So rather than do anything that's worthwhile, such as make it not cost $30,000 and be horribly dangerous to have a baby in America, they're just going to force you to have babies and then put them in jail. I'm sure later on. I don't know. It's a weird set of logic that I don't fully understand because I don't have holes in my brain. So other than that, thank you all so much. We are going to be doing this again next week. Like I said, I'll be in the condo. Maybe I'll have a nice little backdrop of beautiful DeSoto, Missouri, to do the live in for that. I don't know. The laptop doesn't really like doing stuff with the camera. Maybe this new camera will work a little bit better. I don't know. But we'll see. Either way, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a lover. Thank you just for being you. Everybody have a good mental health day. Take care of yourselves out there because we all fucking need a day or two for it ourselves. So we'll talk to you next week.